Hello and welcome back to the M&A Zing, the weekly podcast for acquisition entrepreneurs, search funders and holdco builders in the UK, Europe and beyond. Today we have a very special episode featuring the founding partners of a brand new search fund in the UK, 22 Capital Partners. We're joined by Andrew Napier, a seasoned finance professional with extensive leadership experience across diverse sectors. Alongside him is Evani Mannur, a serial entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in digital transformation, who has herself successfully acquired and scaled businesses using her own capital. Both are MBA grads from Cambridge Judge, which we'll get onto in a short while. But together they've embarked on the journey to acquire and lead a UK SME. Andrew, Evani, welcome to the M&A Zing.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Likewise.
Great to have you with us. We have crossed paths a few times since you launched your fund, and I think in the corridors of INSEAD recently. So you're an LBS, I think, as well prior to that. So you're ticking the box on all of the business schools around Europe. Let's get into your kind of motivation first and foremost, shall we? Andrew, significant career in corporate finance, large teams, big transformations. Evani, entrepreneur through and through. Actively acquired, scaled. What attracted you both to acquisition entrepreneurship and ETA in this sense?
I was always drawn to building whether it's business, products or teams. I love to grow those, and ETA brings all of that together, and that's what really attracted me to it. And after multiple ventures, I wanted to take a longer term view and finding a great SME that will where I can bring in that digital transformation knowledge that I have and growing it sustainably. ETA allows me to have that in a more impact and a responsible way.
Andrew?
Yeah, for me, I guess it's in the title really, the entrepreneurship through acquisition, and I guess it's bringing together that entrepreneurial drive that I've sort of got inside me and like the structure. So completely new to the ETA and the search fund model before doing the elective at Cambridge, and sort of really compelling for me. And
what particularly stood out about it? Because you could have gone the 0 to 1 route. Evani, you have previously in your career started something from scratch. Was that experience sufficient motivation to think, actually, I can make a bigger impact if I pick something up that's already established?
Yes. Even the first company was already established. It had good revenue coming in, and I did pick it up because the owner didn't know how to proceed or go further with it. But now, with the knowledge I have of running that, and it was quite service orientated, since then I've obviously had experience with a lot of different other industries. And ETA space allows us to get funds which will allow us to pick up a specific type of industry, SME, that will help us grow and make it sustainable.
So the materiality of the size of business that you would want to, for this chapter 2,
yes,
you acquired, a small kind of self-funded search size business previously, which you obviously had some great success with. You wanted to step that up to a larger entity, and search, the traditional search fund model kind of, facilitates that in the amount of capital that it gives access to.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. And Andrew, similar motivation, or?
Yeah, I'm open and honestly say I'm not the ideas person, the one that's going to find a sort of a novel solution for something, or a novel idea that's going to become a unicorn. So the sort of model where you go into an SME and you can, that's been operating for sort of 20, 30 years as the model states, and being able to take that and grow that, and I saw it was a perfect avenue to get into that space.
So improvements, iterations versus innovations from the ground up. Getting into a strong foundation business and applying your competencies and capabilities and insights to adding that value and creating that value. Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So both of you, as I touched on in the intro, went through the Cambridge Judge MBA program. Would love, before we get into how that brought you both together, to get your reflections on the program.
So yeah, the elective is is something we go back and is the chosen module that you can do during the 2 years that we did the MBA, and also when we go back every year we can choose to do it. So it's an optional course, and I sort of serendipitously got onto it this time round, and that was February, so only 3 months ago I learnt about all this, and sort of here we are. And sort of how Evani came into the fold was I sort of began a bit of outreach to fellow alumni who were sort of interested in the space, and some that wish to invest, and some that have and come along the journey with us. Evani was one of those people, and either people that had the knowledge of the space or people who had skill sets that could come along on the journey with me. And then speaking to Evani in the first instance was to see if she wanted to invest and come along in that fold, and you find yourself in a similar position to then join me. So
yeah, because at the time when Andrew called it to explain about what he's going to start and do, I was aware of ETA. I was planning to do the elective as well to try and understand, but I thought the 2 modules I really wanted to do. But when Andrew called me, I was like, I'm doing that right now. I'm literally looking for a company as we speak. Just been looking at various different
listings, I guess, would
listings,
it be? Yeah.
Listings on online, and started networking with some local businesses just to see what's going on.
Yeah. Very sensible. We'll get onto sourcing in a little while, but 2 great strategies.
But when Andrew approached, I was like thinking, hold on a minute, I could actually look at a much bigger company than what I'm looking at right now, and make a bigger difference than acquiring a small company, and which can still take a long journey to get where I would like to get to. And doing it together with Andrew's financial experience and my digital transformation experience, I thought, why not? This is a perfect mix right now.
Yes, very sensible of you both to seek to not go out and do this alone. Not because you can't, but because it's arguably more investable when you go as a team. And certainly in search, we see a number of solo search funds, but the ones that seem to get traction earlier seem to be those with multiple people at the helm. That was something you were very much aware of from the beginning, I assume.
Yeah, so I was sort of embarking on it on my own to begin with. It was only a matter of weeks before I spoke to Evani, after sort of reading the books and the Stanford Primer and the reports, and so yeah, and I saw the advantages. The stats are out there about partnered search and the success of them, and Evani's background. It was a great sort of combination, and certainly now sort of we'll come on to it in the sort of fundraising stage, sort of certainly getting that feedback that it's a great combination, and proved to be successful, hopefully.
Yeah, certainly credible, I would argue. With the experiences you both got, the MBA under your belts, and the very deliberate strategic approach you've taken to bringing 22 Capital Partners into the world. I think, very smart. And hopefully that, as we'll come on to, is getting you some great conversations with the search fund investment community. But let's get into your thesis for 22 Capital Partners. Tell us a bit about the type of businesses that you're targeting, the unique value proposition perhaps that sets your thesis apart from others. What are you looking to do with 22 Capital Partners?
What I'm we're focused on profitability, founder-led SMEs in sectors like manufacturing, infrastructure services, FMCG, some of the industries that we both have had experience in, and we believe that these businesses have good fundamentals and under-digitized, and we have huge growth potential, and just operating and digitizing a lot of those functions based on both of our experiences, and that's what's drawing us to that kind of industries.
You mentioned there 3 of the sort of segments or verticals there in industrial, infrastructure services and FMCG, all of which, when I hear those collectively, I think of a fair amount of fixed assets, perhaps some healthy inventory on the balance sheet. So you're looking at probably a reasonably high asset value businesses in that sense. Was that strategically deliberate?
I wouldn't say so. To sort of Evani's points around how those industries are and how they've grown and evolved over time, there's sort of a huge opportunity there for that sort of digitization piece and the use of technology and sort of becoming an organisation in those industries that sort of market leaders in terms of what they do and how they operate, and then being able to grow. So it wasn't more about the sort of the asset base really, and some of them can be quite asset light, and let's not get into the accounting sort of side of things, but sort of leasing things and whatnot. So it was more the opportunity that we saw in the industries that, I mean, we focused on those just to be able to sort of talk through that and go, particularly with investors, and have done that work in particular industries, but we're still having a sort of an agnostic approach.
Yeah, keeping an open mind, wide search kind of net, which I think is very sensible, because you don't want to restrict yourself at this early stage. But good that you've got an eye on the ideal kind of areas that you'd like to get some success in. Particularly, I'm interested in the digital transformation piece. You're quite heavily indexed on that, looking for value creation opportunities through digital transformation. Obviously, that's your background, Evani, but where do you see those value adds or value creates can come from in that digital transformation specifically?
A lot of people, when they say digital transformation, they think it's technology and will solve all their problems, which isn't the case. It usually starts off with business processes, and that's where it really starts. And typically the projects I've done, I've had limited say in making those changes on the business fronts. I would be able to advise, but not see it through because I don't have the rights to do so. Now, owning a business and running it in SME, I've seen it all in these different industries. Now I have the opportunity, or will have the opportunity, to go in there, do it right, changing those business processes. It's not tomorrow it's going to be just changed, and it's a journey. Understanding what those processes are today, how we can transform those processes and help aid those changes with digitization and potentially even automation if it is possible. And these kind of industries that we highlighted, those are the ones which I've seen and Andrew's seen, is that they aren't digitized very well. They've been focused on that legacy of the relationships with businesses and have those contracts already, and now they haven't thought about doing things a different way. And there's a huge opportunity there, and that's what I'm definitely, and Andrew thinks that we should be able to.
Yeah, very apropos of the time, I think, guys, that, there are businesses that have come up through a particular vintage or era that maybe haven't embraced the AI revolution or the automation revolution, as you touch on there, perhaps in production, but also in back office processes as well. Is that interesting to hear that you say you don't want to rush to do that, and that's, I guess, refreshing for anybody that might be acquired by you to know that it's not going to be all changed day one. But could you speak to particular focus areas, perhaps in some of those, industrial type businesses where you think that, automation, for example, might be applicable?
I mean, I could touch on a couple of things in terms of finance transformations and the use of technology now, even sort of using AI to go like skim invoices and process them without having touching any human. Those sort of processes around reporting, and a lot of the accountancy and finance can sort of be automated and made a lot more efficient than they currently have. Other areas such as sort of HR and payroll as well, and yeah, there's a lot of the sort of central services areas particularly that can be transformed and made a lot more efficient in these businesses.
And the key thing that I've learned is different areas or different departments try and digitize certain areas. But when you're running a business and have that vision, you'll be able to see that through and through, from back office elements to front office to your suppliers, that whole ecosystem, that whole supply chain mechanism can be looked at as a whole and see how strategically have that digitized roadmap put in place. Because yes, you can digitize certain things in finance and HR, and then with your vendors, that supply chain to make it easier.
But still end up siloized.
And you're defeating the purpose. And or you may over digitize one area versus other, and they're not speaking to each other, and that has happened. But when we're looking at it from an overview and have that strategy, which we have, we can do it better, is what I think.
Yeah. And does that start with setting the culture within the business? Because it's a lot to shoulder if you are the one doing all the digitization and the sort of innovation, if you will, in transforming a business like that. But often you find that people that have been in these businesses for a while have these frustrations about some of the repetition and some of the inefficiencies that they can actually be part of the solution in finding ways to improve them. Have you found that in your previous careers, that engaging the workforce and delegating that responsibility is helpful?
Definitely, absolutely, Gareth. The thing is, everyone's resistant to change. Everyone's comfortable to a large extent with what they're doing for various different reasons. But change is a constant, and I believe change is a constant. And the sooner we realize that, the better. And inculcating that culture in an organization is very, very key and fundamental to putting these kind of things in place. Bringing them on the journey, making it their idea, understanding, listening to what their problems are, and doing a few quick wins with them, even though strategically it's not what you want to do. Sometimes doing that to gain the trust of what we're trying to achieve is very, very critical and very important sometimes.
Yeah, and it also teases out the future leaders within that may have been neglected in the previous regimes, where they're given a bit of air for the wings to take flight. Actually, how do they utilize that? Do they start to rise above? Great. So, guys, you're on the fundraising journey. You've set out, the thesis is out there. You are on the tour. How is that going? You're in the midst of the capital raising for the search phase. Andrew, in pre-conversations, you've described this as a rather novel experience. And Evani, in your previous acquisition, you didn't go out and raise external capital for it. So you're both shaking the tin for the first time. What have you observed? What have you learned from the process? Any kind of pearls to impart?
Well, yeah, it's certainly a new experience, but a lot less daunting now that we're doing it than it was before embarking on it. And I guess that I think it sort of proves the sort of dynamic between an investor and a searcher, and it's all about sort of building relationships, and this partnership that you may or may not sort of embark on is going to be a long-term relationship, and one that you'll still be partnering with in maybe 10 years time. So a lot of it has been around, particularly the introductory calls that we're having with investors, is just getting to know us and us to get to know them, and sort of being able to build that rapport. So it's, yeah.
You've used the word partnering there, and I think that speaks to the sort of collaborative nature of the search ecosystem right now. It's so supportive. I've been, having come from a sort of recent experience of the last few years in the venture space, it has been quite refreshing seeing how this asset class is not commodified. People want to give up their time to assist and guide, and it feels much more collaborative than, for example, the early stage innovation economy does these days. So, have you found any particular heroes or champions? So you've had quite a lot of a warm welcome from a lot of the institutions in the UK that are kind of immersed in this space. Any particular leap out that have been very willing and generous with their time?
All have been generous with their time
so
far.
We were sort of having the conversation on the tube over here, and how refreshing it's been that they're putting their cards on the table to say, look, we want to be with you and next to you throughout this journey, and to an extent where I mean, thinking a little bit into the future, that we can't sort of have all of them being that partner, because there's going to be maybe 10, 12, 15 investors on our cap table, and all absolutely willing to support us and sort of be that partner. So, and that sort of boosted us as well, having these conversations, and
it's a big attraction to the search space, right? The fact that, when you're going out and securing these commitments to your search phase, that you almost win the right to partner with these folks who bring more than just capital.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, that's one of the big things that's attracted me to go down this route as well, is that community, the support from investors, searchers, operators. Everyone is willing to have a chat with you. No one has ever said, no, I can't give you time. Everyone, even if however busy they are, and they are busy, they'll give some snippet or advice, and it's all have been valuable. And that's one thing I've definitely noticed, is you need to be resilient, and you'll hear different opinions, different views, but you have to be clear about what it is that you want and continue and pursue, because everyone has a different view of how...
From their own lived experience
Exactly.
or preference or whatever, and those opinions are really valuable, but taken as a trend, as a sort of rather than responding and flip-flopping on individuals' kind of different ways of working. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's also part of the model that, yes, you've been in a chief exec role and run your own business, but typically there isn't that experience of being a chief exec in a business as a searcher. So, and many of these investors have, it's sort of the life cycle of search. They've done the search and they've done the operation, and they may have exited, and they're sort of giving back now, which is also a really nice sort of circular.
There's definitely that paying it forward going on in the community, which is lovely, and it's great to see the success of exited acquisition entrepreneurs that are now investing in future ones, and sort of helping folks along their journey. So let's fast forward then, if we can, to closing your search phase, actually getting your acquisition candidates lined up and getting a deal over the line. Let's fast forward. What do we think? 6 months? No. In fairness, probably more like 12 or 18. But once you've acquired that first business, how do you envision your respective complementing skills being put to work in those companies? Where are you going to devote your time and attention? First 100 days, who's going into what departments to do what work?
Yeah, I mean, there's options. I think naturally, given my finance acumen, sort of the finance, sort of central services, maybe operations, and then Evani's side will be sort of the technology, the value add, the go-to-market sort of areas. And do that. I mean, it's a divide and conquer.
Yeah, absolutely. Divide and conquer. Go speak to each individual. I think that's the key thing. Even when I first bought it, that was quite critical, because they needed to see there's a new leader there. Not wanting to just come in and not like, I don't want to say anything about PE funds, but that's their model. This model is very different. We're trying to be part and journey of that and help them grow the organisation.
So you feel you have to be more visible, more collaborative?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely feel that we need to go down to the ground, speak to every individual, including cleaners and people who are managing the security guards at the front. Every single one, top to the top management. I believe everyone has to be spoken to, and Andrew believes that too. So I think we need to do that to understand what the current culture is and how we could potentially make those changes in the background, thinking of it.
Just being being available for everybody, and I mean, there's not. But what you should do at the beginning, and what we've read and what we've heard, is you don't really do much. You get yourself in there and you're learning when you're on the ground, and it's a continuous sort of learning experience.
It is, and it's winning the hearts and minds. There's going to be a lot of sensitivity to change in those first sort of 3-4 months, where people are wondering what the new regime is going to look like, and what changes are going to be affected. I think there's a sort of stability or stabilization kind of phase that you go through post-acquisition, which is very sensible to be thinking in those terms. Visibility, over-communicating has a great role to play there. Yeah, I guess you're going to be diving straight into the zero and taking all the things that you've learned from the due diligence and applying some quick wins, I guess, there in the financial practice.
Yeah, certainly. Getting a handle on your cash flow, like number one.
Well, of course, if you've done the usual path, there'll be an element of leverage that you've probably brought to the business that it maybe didn't have before.
Yeah, be mindful of that,
and definitely mentioning we may be dividing and conquering to an extent of speaking to people, but I think the aim and theme should be that we're winning together on this journey. We're going to work on it to grow and win hearts and minds.
Yeah. So probably a bit early to ask this question, but it always brings me around to thinking about staff incentivization and things like that. How do you cultivate the talent? How do you keep them feeling like they're part of that journey? Because it's quite clear when you're an acquisition entrepreneur with the Stanford traditional model, and you've got backers, and you have to deliver 32% IRR or more to the investors. There is an end game here, isn't there, where the company has to drive its success possibly to another sale or liquidity event, or it has to be able to do something profound over a kind of 5 to 7 year journey. Do you have any thoughts on incentivizing the sort of senior leadership or middle management to become part of that solution?
Nothing specific for me. I think around getting into the business that we acquire, and we talked about culture a little bit before now. I guess for me it's providing that environment where everybody can sort of reach their potential, and giving them the opportunities. It's not, yes, incentivization is a thing, and we all go to work to earn a living, and that's important, but certainly for me it's more than just the pay at the end of the day. It's having an environment that's enjoyable to work at, that people can sort of grow and develop and have development plans, for example, because some of these businesses may not have those plans in place. So certainly around just creating that environment, and maybe that goes back to my rugby playing days. And
well, it sounds very warm. It sounds like a great place to work if you're looking to encourage those kind of personal journeys, but that sense of team, that sense of collaboration.
I definitely want to echo what Andrew said about that development plan, giving them the opportunities to learn skills. A lot of organizations do have them, but I think tailoring them specifically to what they want to do and achieve, and invest that time towards that, will help in that long-term vision of whichever direction we end up going for that SME.
So it's more appealing to the heart of the workforce rather than the pocket necessarily.
That eventually will come, right?
It should do. With success.
If we've got the right culture put in place, the right innovation mindsets in place, I can't see why not.
Good. Well, let's talk about challenges on the journey then, because you've probably had some already, as everybody does in the early days. But where do you see the big challenges coming for 22 Capital Partners on its journey to acquire and possibly post acquisition? Evani, you've said to me previously it's a fall in love with the problem and not the idea, and that momentum matters more than perfection, which I think is wise words. But have you used those kind of tenets in overcoming any challenges so far?
Yes. So I don't know where to start and begin, because every day you have a different problem and you have a different thing to solve. It could be a data related issue where some information has been leaked, to trying to solve someone wanting to leave the company, or a bereavement. It could be anything. And you just don't know what you're going to come in with that day in the morning, and having that open mindset of trying to understand what the problem is and working towards that, and hearing what those people are trying to say, listening to them and understanding it, making them feel like they're heard, makes a huge difference on any challenge. if we start reacting to that issue or challenge, then it becomes exponential, and it can be put out there into the world as a wrong piece of information. So I think it's important to speak to those individuals, make sure they're heard, whatever the challenge might be. It could be a specific, I'm not trying to go into details because I'm having floods of different things.
What ifs, and also flashbacks, I should imagine.
Literally flashbacks right now. But I think that's what has helped me get through a lot of them. And there have been some challenges where I've not been able to know what to do, have had to take advice and seek guidance from people to make sure that it's handled in the best way possible with the best outcome. So willing to, one, listen to and understand what the issue is, and also seeking advice from external third-party people who are not directly involved with the situation, who are away, so they can see it with a more objective view, is also quite important.
So you're already thinking in operator mode. You're already thinking post-acquisition. I know what I'm getting myself into, and I know how I'm going to handle it, which is great. I mean, actually, super credible. So thank you. But also the challenges on the journey to get that far. I mean, every searcher has, commercial finance challenges and equity challenges and sourcing challenges and negotiation and due diligence challenges and deal structuring. Like all of that is pretty much standard fare for the journey you guys are on. But have you thought about any in particular and thought ahead to any mitigators?
I think, well, you've just sort of described everything, and it's certainly all encompassing. Even at this stage now, it's there's so much for us to do in this stage of the search fund and fundraising now, and it's certainly something you need to go all in on, and sort of we're fortunate to be able to do that. And
you seem very strategic, the pair of you, in thinking ahead and planning forward. And to your point about momentum mattering more than perfection, like I think that is ever more achievable to arrive at that momentum if you've done some proper planning and sort of try to think ahead to these challenges. Where do you see potentially in the search phase the possibility to trip up, and where you might want to make sure that you're super prepared?
Definitely something we both have thought about and discussed. Yes, acquiring is one thing, and I think we've got a good strategy for that, and using some of that process here, because it's going to be just the two of us, and obviously we're thinking of whether we get interns to help us, what kind of tools to help us and support us on that journey. But it's more than just that. It's trying to be more visible out there so that some businesses who don't know they're wanting to sell know that we exist, and we're here to help that journey with them. So we've spoken to other VC firms who have companies that they're not looking at, but who are willing to share that information with us. There's a local business person I met who had sold his business more than 30 or 40 years ago and is now dedicated his time in an engineering business. He built and sold 3 different engineering businesses by the age of 45. Amazing. Wow. It was amazing, something definitely to aspire to. But his journey, he explained it, and it was quite interesting to see from a seller's perspective what he had to go through and letting go of his baby, so to speak, literally. And he's now dedicated his time to other business owners around the country and formed a non-profit kind of organization, but a subscription kind of thing. Amazing concept of helping and supporting other local businesses to, whether it's a legal matter, accounting matter, thinking of selling, what to do, and so on. And he's someone which I found quite an interesting person, and
inspiring for that journey.
For that journey, and I think quite valuable for when we're going down that route, because there'll be so many different reasons people are selling, and we have to be mindful of that and to help with either the negotiations or what it is they're trying to achieve out of selling it.
This is really refreshing, to be putting yourself in the seller's shoes and trying to understand the seller psychology. I will go out on a limb and say not enough searchers give enough forethought to that, and therefore negotiation semantics, if you like, appear more frustrating than they maybe are intended to be, because you have to walk a mile in the other person's shoes in order to understand their lived experience, right? So, and what's going through their mind, and it isn't just a transaction for them. So yeah, really interesting that you've thought that through. And Andrew, anything to add there?
No, I guess at this stage there's lots of avenues that we can go down in terms, just thinking of like proprietary outreach versus sort of broker led, and
is it a plan to do a mix of both?
Mix of both, yeah, certainly. 50-50, 60-40. We hear different things, speaking to different people, but obviously the model, the hidden gems out there are found off market, but the dynamics in the UK are quite heavily brokered. So definitely both. And yeah, I mean, a bit of luck goes with it as well. A couple of conversations we've had recently, they've been quite refreshing. That luck plays a big part in this, and I mean, people say you create your own luck, and you put yourself out there in places that you'll find it, and hopefully we'll find that.
There is definitely a correlation between the luck finding you and you creating the conditions for luck to do so. So yes, it isn't going to just fall out of the tree, but again, sensible approach. Thinking about the mix of sourcing, thinking about how you're going to maintain that momentum. Really sensible strategies, guys. So looking ahead, let's think about what 22 Capital Partners might look like in 12 months' time. Where do you hope to be on the journey? Not necessarily acquired, but
who knows?
Who knows? Possible, yeah. So, I mean, in an ideal world, if we were to come back in the summer of 2026, what would you like to be announcing?
We're operating a business.
Operating. I think in 12 months' time, I guess. Typically, this takes up to 24 months to find. On average, to find the ideal company, and we're mindful of that. It might take time. It might, again, other conversations that we've had, and some are found in a month or two, and they're the best businesses, and so who knows? But I'd certainly like to think we're progressing with some options and some companies that are out there, and trying to find that hidden gem that's out there for us to,
I can see Evani's itching to just get through this stage and get over the line and start running the business, which is great. It's certainly not conceptual or academic for you, is it?
No.
It's coming across viscerally that you can't wait to get running the business.
Absolutely.
I think it's one of those things that stays in your blood, isn't it?
That's what's driving us to help find that company as well and do that. But Andrew keeps me grounded, so I'm not racing off, which really is useful to have.
I was just about to say that. That's probably why the partnership's sort of quite good, and be successful with this is that like Evani's approach is get out there, we'll start it, and let's process orientated.
I think there's probably a happy balance somewhere in the middle where you don't over processify it at this early stage, but you also don't run before you walk.
Yes, exactly, absolutely.
Yeah. So we do get a number of aspiring and ambitious future searchers listening to the M&A Zing, and we want to be an inspiration to them, and certainly your story inspires me. I'd love to just, at this early stage of your search fund's life, get your reflections, but perhaps with a lens of someone considering this tentatively. Might I want to do a search fund? Maybe you could just impart some wisdom around why they might wish to or not, as the case may be.
I'll go. I guess I can't remember where I heard it, but it was start and keep going, and it's not going to be easy. But there's certainly, when you begin this journey, you quickly find there's a community out there. We've touched on it before. There's a community out there to support you. You're not, whether you're a partnership or a solo searcher, you're not doing this on your own. There are, as we talked about, you do this in a partnership with investors, with advisors, with with the community. And yeah, if you've got the opportunity to embark on this, then just start and keep going. Find your own your own model that you fit into, and take it away.
Yeah, but it's also a lifestyle. It's not for everybody, this kind of journey. Some people don't like to be thinking about work evenings and weekends and things like that. But this journey is going to be that. You will be thinking about it evenings. You will be thinking out on your holidays and weekends and so on. If that's not what you want, I would just stop. Don't waste your time.
If you just want a job, search isn't for you.
It's definitely not.
If you want something that's all immersive, that's going to occupy your every waking and sleeping thought, and probably wake you up in a cold sweat, then this is definitely for you. Yeah.
Yes. But well, for me personally, it's been extremely rewarding. The first time around, hence me trying to do it again and at a bigger scale. So I find the reward, and it definitely gives me a rush.
Well, that's the inspiration, that you have done this before. You have acquired, and you've gone the full life cycle, and now you're ambitious to do it again. Great. So just keep searching, basically.
Yes.
Starting
to continue. Yes.
Great. And there is an abundance of opportunity out there, as you've found. There's a disproportionately large number of businesses that need to sell. So Absolutely. Let's get out there and buy them, eh? So you are still taking interest in your search phase capital? I still have some slots left on your units left on your cap table?
Yes, there's some left, yeah.
How would you like potential?
Running out fast.
Of course. Well, it seemed like you've been high demand, I'm sure. You've got all the right ingredients. How might you wish for investors, either institutional or high net worth, to contact you in relation to potentially participating in your opportunity?
LinkedIn's good. You find our website, 22capitalpartners.co.uk, or inquiries at 22capitalpartners.co.uk if people want to email. But yeah, LinkedIn, Andrew Napier.
Evani Mannur.
Yeah, find us there.
So I've got to ask, why 22?
Go on, Andrew.
It's slightly sentimental because we were the class of 2022 at Cambridge.
So nothing at all to do with Taylor Swift?
Oh, no.
No, I've no concept of that. But no, it's a bit of a sentiment to where we know each other from and where this was born out of. So.
Okay. You will have that tune ringing in your ears now, and every time I see you, I will be playing it as your ringtone when you call me.
Interesting. And first time I've put the two together. Yeah, two together. Yeah.
No teenage daughters in your house then? Yeah.
Not yet, not yet.
Great stuff. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you both. Thank you very much for sharing your journey with us, and we absolutely look forward to following your journey and hearing about the businesses that you acquire and the successes that you make of them. So, Evani, Andrew, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gareth.
And to all the listeners out there, if you want to follow Andrew and Evani's journey, do track them on LinkedIn, connect, and also visit 22capitalpartners.co.uk, which we'll put links to in the show notes. We'll have another interview with an aspiring and ambitious and successful acquisition entrepreneur coming right on up. So until then, keep on crunching. Thanks, folks.